Hi everyone, welcome back. Hope you are doing good. This is Mahesh. In this video, we will continue on arrays. So let us try to understand how we create an array and how do we do some operations on array. So let us try to first understand how do we create an array in JavaScript. So basically, we use array literals. We use array literals to create. So basically what we do, constant array equal to something like this, square bracket. So using square bracket, what we do, we add elements into the array. So something like this. So if you see, I can add any type of data into the array. So that's the beauty of JavaScript. Um, so something like this, test. So this is an object, and I will close my array declaration with a square bracket. So why this is the case here? Because array is nothing but an object, and also whatever the data you store inside the array, they are all objects. So it's a collection of objects. That's why it is able to take any kind of elements into the array. So this is using array literals way. There is also one more way where we use array constructor. So using this, how we can do constant array equal to new array. We can use new array keyword to create the array. So if we do this, then it will create as empty array. Then what we can do, we can add elements onto it. Also, if we want to create a array of particular size, then what we can do, we can say new array of size. Size is basically some integer number, maybe 10. So it will create array of size 10. Okay. So this is another way. One more way would be like where we want to create the array and also initialize with some elements using the same constructor method. So that we can do something like this, new array 1, 2, 3, 4, something like this. So if we do what it does, it will create me an array of size 4 or of length 4, then it will initialize the values. So now if you see, this is the representation of array, and here array is 0 based indexed array. So it means our first element gets stored at 0th index and the subsequent will take the subsequent indexes. So that is how the array representation happens in JavaScript. Okay, so this is creating the array. Now we also try to understand how to access the elements. So if I want to read element, this particular element, then how I can do? I can simply say array of its index, and it should be given in the square brackets. So if we do this, then we will be able to read the element at index. Okay, now assume I want to change this element 3 to something else, maybe 5. So what I will do, I will simply say array of 2. This will allow me to access, then equal to new value. So this will, what it will do, it will simply remove this element, and add this here, Okay, so this is how we can modify the elements into the array. So this is of order 1, this also of order 1. Here what we do, we simply access the element by its index. That's where, this is what is the advantage of using arrays, where we can access its elements or modify any element with constant order. So that is order of 1. Okay, so this is how we make modifications. Now let us also try to understand some built-in methods. So assume this is already array which is created something like this. Now after this, I want to add elements into this particular array. Say I want to add 5 and 6. So how I can do? I can use the push method. So what I will do, array dot push of 5, then array dot push of 7. So this is basically a array method that is available. So using this, what I can do, I can add 5. So what it will do, it will create one more block at the end of the array. It will add 5 after this operation. Again, after this operation, it will create one more block and it will add element here. So this push will be used to add element at the end of the array. So that is why it is of order 1. Again, push is of order 1 time complexity because it will take constant time to add elements at the end of the array. Now there is one more which is unshift method. So what it does, it will add the element at the beginning of the array. So if this is my array, or let's assume only 4 elements, this is 1, 2, 3 and 4. Now what I want to do, I want to add 0 at the beginning. So if that is the case, what it should do, it should first shift all the elements towards right, and then it should make this place empty, and then it should add 0, right? So that's what it does. So if I do array dot unshift of 0, then what it will do, it will add element 0, then move 1 to here, then 2 to here, then 3 to here, and 4 to here, something like this. That's why it is of order n. Unshift is of order n. So this we need to keep in mind because it shifts the elements towards right. That's why it is of order n. So this is for adding the elements. Now I want to take out or extract the elements from the array. So for that, what we can use pop method. So if I do array dot pop, then what it will do, it will take out the last element. So if this is my current array, so something like this, 0, 1, 2, 3 and 4. Now if I do pop, then it will take out 4 and it will empty this place. Okay, so now its size will be, basically only 4, length of 4. So what it does, it will take the element from the end and it will give it to us. Okay, that is what pop does. So it is also order of 1 time complexity because it simply takes out the element from the end of the array. Now on the counterpart, for unshift, we have shift method. What it does, it will take the element at the 0th index and it will shift the remaining elements towards left. So now if I do array dot shift on this one, on 0, 1, 2, 3. So this is the remaining array now. Now what it does, it will give us 0, but it will shift these elements towards left. So I will get 0 and my remaining array would be something like 1, 2, 3. Again, this is of order n because shifting of remaining elements should happen towards left. That's why it is of order n. Okay, so these are some basic operations. Now there are some more things where if you want to convert the array to string, there is a straightforward method, array dot toString. So if I call this, then what it does, it will convert the elements into a comma separated value, something like this, comma separated, and we get it as a string. So we will see that in the code. Now with this, there are some more operations. So I was trying to tell, right? Initially when we create the array, it is basically an object. So if we do type of, then if we give square brackets which represents array, or if you give ARR, then what it will give? It will give you object as output because array is an object. And also if you really want to see whether it is a array or not, then what you can do, you can use array dot isArray and you can pass your array object. So it will give you true or false based on whether it is an array or no. Or you can also check array instance of array. This will also give you true or false. So with this is how, I mean, you can check whether the given object is an array or not. Now, array is basically a sparse one. I mean, we call it as sparse because now what you do, I will say constant array equal to empty array. Now what I will do, I will say array of 0 equal to maybe 1. Then immediately after that, I will say array of 999 equal to maybe 2. Okay. So ideally, what is the imagination? It will create 0 to 999 blocks, correct, right? And it will store 1 here and it will store 2 here, but remaining blocks will be empty. But that is not the case here in JavaScript. It will only create 2 blocks. It will only create 2 blocks and it will add elements into those 2 blocks. And the remaining blocks, even though, I mean, we assume that they are empty, they are not really empty. I mean, there won't be anything. But still, the length of this particular array will be 1000. But the memory allocated would be of whatever is required for 2 blocks. That's why arrays are sparse in JavaScript. So this is the beauty of arrays in JavaScript here. Okay. Next one is, I mean, we can also create the strongly typed arrays, something like uint 8 array. This will create as the unsigned integer array with some size, say for example of size 10 or of size 20, like the other languages. Here, if we create array something like this, then it will be of constant size. Whatever till now we discussed, that won't really apply here. It will really create you. So if you create this particular array as unsigned int array of some size, maybe 1000, then it will clearly create 1000 blocks. So this is how we can create strongly typed arrays. Okay. There are different loops. I mean, you can use while loop, you can use for loop. So basically, I mean, we will try to follow the for loop way. So what we do, if there is array something like this, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, if I want to iterate over all the elements, what we do, we simply say for let I equal to 0, because it's 0 based indexing. So we will start with 0, I less than array dot length, then I plus plus, then we do something and we will close. If you see this dot length, this property will give you the size of the array. If the size of the array is of length 10, then it will give us 10, something like that. So basically we use this length property to read the size of the array. So this is how we access the elements. Then using for loop, I mean, basically we iterate over all the elements. Then we can say array of I to access each element. So if I do console.log of array of I, then what we do, we will read elements one by one. Okay, this is basic for loop. Next, we have some more operations, like there is for each loop, which is similar to for loop, but here it gives a more readable syntax, but you cannot really access the elements using index, but you can access elements one after the other. Okay, so that is something like for each element such that then we can do whatever operations, console.log something like element. So this will, what it does, it will read element one after the other. This is for loop. Then another thing would be the map, and there is filter method, there is reduce method, These are all used for processing the data. These are all used for processing the data. We will see the example, and there is one more loop, I mean the same for loop but in a different syntactical way. So that is for of loop, for of loop. So that's a kind of alternate for loop. This gives more readability, but again you cannot really access using the index. So for constant item of array. So using item you can access each element. So this is one more alternate for the for loop. Let us look into all these things in the code now. So let us use array literals first. Constant array equal to something like 1. Then I will use a string. Then I will use some object, maybe C colon something. Now if you see, so I will try to print this particular array. Now if I use node arrays command, if you see, this is how the array is printed now. Next one is using array1 using constructor way. So new array of length 10. Then if I do console log, then let's see what we get. So we get array with 10 empty items. Now let us duplicate this. Instead of array1, let's call it as array2, and let's say 1, 2, 3, 4. Then let me try to print array2. Then what we get, this, I think I duplicated it twice, so let me remove that. And let's see, we have array with size 4 or length 4 and initialized with 4 elements. Now for simplicity, what I will do, I will remove or I'll comment these things. We will use this array only. Now let me try to access element maybe at first index. So let's save this. So it is this string. Okay. Now what I will do, I will try to modify this particular value at index 1 with something 2. Okay. Now I will try to access that element. So if I do that, now the element gets changed to 2. So this is how we access and modify the elements using the index. Now let us try to understand push, unshift and pop and shift. So push, so we have array. So what I will do, I will push maybe 10. So I need to use array dot push for that. Okay. So after this, what I will do, I will print my array. So it should add element 10 at the end. If you see, it is adding 10 at the end. Now what I will do, after this, I will unshift, I will add the element at the beginning. So let's say I am planning to add 0. So if I do that, now if I execute it again, so it will add 0 at the beginning. Okay. Now this is push and unshift. Now also let us try to see how we do pop. So basically pop means it gets us element. So what I will do, I will I'll pop it in some variable and let us try to print the array. Let's see. So our last element gone now, which we had as 10, correct, right? Now if you want to see which element, you can simply say temp comma array. This will tell us which element we popped, which is 10. So this is like popping the element from the end. Now if I want to pop the element from the first index, then what I can do, I can use shift method. So if I use shift method, then you see now it is not 10, it is the first element 0, which gets popped, correct, right? So this is how we do push, pop and shift and unshift methods. This is how we use them. Now let us try to understand how we print this array after converting it into toString. Let us see dot toString method. So if I use this, then it will give us the comma separated values. But if you see, this is an object, that's why it gives the value as object. But if you see, I will simply change this to something like 2. Then if I try to run it, let's see, we get 1 to 210, something like this. So this is using toString. Now after this, let us try to understand how to iterate over. So we use for loop, let I equal to 0, I less than, now array dot length. So this length will give us the length of the array. So it will start from 0th index and length will give you the nth index plus 1 value, not exactly nth index. So if the length is 10, then our last index would be 9. That's where it is last index plus 1. So I plus plus, this is how console.log array of I. If I do this, let's see what we get. I will, let it be. Let's run it. If you see 1, 2, 2, 10. So that's how we can iterate and can access the values. Let's see, there is for of loop also. So I will use for const element of array and let us try to print them element. So if I do this, if you see, again it will print the numbers one more time. Okay, so now let us also use for each. So if you see array dot for each, where E is capital and element. Now I will copy paste the same console statement. Now for simplicity, I'll simply comment these two. That way, it will be covered in this window. So now if so there is a spelling mistake here. So now what I will do, I will execute it. If you see 1, 2, 2, 10. That's how we access. Now assume I have 1, 2, 2, 10. Now I want to print the squares of the number. So what I can do, I can use my map. So array dot map. So if I hit enter, so I will get access to each element. Then I will use this such that this is the syntax of this map. And what I will do, I will say element star element, and what I will do, I will store them in a temporary array. and I think we have used this earlier, so I will use temp1. So now what I will do, I will simply print my temp1. Now if I will comment this one. Now if I execute, if you see here, we get the squares of each number. That's how we can use the map operator. Now let's also see how we can filter out only the even numbers out of these numbers. So if you see 1, 2, 2, 4, 2, 10. So 1 is odd number. So we want only even number. So what I will do, I will say array dot filter, and then I will use x this time instead of element, x such that x mod 2 equal to 0. So this will give us the elements which are even equal to this. Now what I will do, I will print them even. So I will save it, I'll execute. If you see, we will get only the even numbers. That's how we can use filter operator. So there is one more, which is reduce one. I mean, we can also use the reduce for filtering out the even numbers, or we can use it to get the sum of all the elements. So let's see, constant sum equal to array dot reduce. Then what it will do, it will take two numbers. One is accumulator and current value, and then what we will have to do, a plus accumulator plus current, and we should remove this, and it also accepts some initial number, so which is 0 in this case, since we need sum. This will hold the sum value. So now if I want to print the sum, let's see what we get. So we get the sum of numbers, which is 15. This one, this the original array. Okay, that's how, I mean, we can utilize the array functions. You can explore these functions a little bit more, so that, I mean, we will use them wherever required in the upcoming problem solvings. Okay, so that's it for this video. Hope you enjoyed and liked the content. If that is the case, please consider subscribing my channel, and also like the video and share it with your friends. Thanks for watching the video.